Anthony DiClemente here with thehealthblueprint.com, and today's video is all about your gut health and why it's so important to heal your gut if you want to lose weight, if you want to increase your energy, if you want to feel good, if you want to take care of skin conditions, and especially if you have anything going on like irritable bowels or Crohn's, colitis, digestive issues like gas or bloating. Everything starts in the gut, and it's connected to so many more symptoms that we don't even realize are related to what's going on internally. And when we take steps to first heal the gut, a lot of times these other symptoms start to resolve themselves. When we really dig into things and look at it from an integrative perspective, the root cause of so many illnesses and dis-eases in the body begins in the gut. So in today's lesson, I'm going to discuss why the gut is so important, what you can do to heal your gut, some strategic steps I recommend, and hopefully there's some stuff that you can take away, start implementing today, and yeah, you'll find this helpful. So we have roughly 10 trillion human cells in the body, and we have roughly 100 trillion bacteria cells with over 500 different species of bacteria in the gut. So we actually have 10 times more bacteria cells than human cells, which leads to the joke that some doctors make that we're actually more bacteria than we are human. Why this is so important is because we rely on a delicate balance of these bacteria in our gut and throughout our body in order to stay healthy. Not just for energy production, but for the production of neurotransmitters. For example, serotonin, which is the neurotransmitter that's associated with feeling good, and it's what the drug Prozac actually prevents. Prozac prevents the reuptake of serotonin in the body so that we have higher levels of serotonin, and that is what is purported for helping some people experience the benefits of taking Prozac, where their mood increases, they feel like their cognitive function improves. 80% of the body's serotonin isn't produced in the brain, it's produced in the gut. And if you have an imbalance of good bacteria, or you have an overgrowth of yeast or parasites or things like that, that needs to be addressed if you want to feel your best, if you want to be energetic, if you want to take care of skin conditions, if you want to take care of stuff going on with when you eat meals, if you experience gas and bloating and indigestion, it all ties into the gut. There was actually a study done recently where scientists looked into the guts of obese mice, and they found that these obese mice contained higher levels of a pathogenic bacteria known as Enterobacter. So what these scientists did is they removed the Enterobacter from the guts of the mice, and these mice quickly returned to their normal body weights. Then when they reintroduced the same Enterobacter bacteria, the mice once again became obese. So you can start to see the patterns here where what's going on in our gut correlates to what's going on internally correlates to what's going on externally. And maintaining the proper balance of good bacteria and bad bacteria is important for a wide range of health symptoms, and it's the root cause of what many of us are experiencing. So what can you do about it? Let's say you're experiencing some of these symptoms. Maybe you eat meals and you experience gas or bloating. Perhaps you have constipation or diarrhea. Maybe you have fatigue, brain fog. Sometimes you're anxious or depressed. You have skin conditions like eczema, rashes, anything in between. Where do you start? Well, the first place that you always want to start is with your food. Everything starts with food. So without being able to dig into the specifics of what may be going on with you, which is something that I always do with my one-on-one clients and put together a specific food list just for them that's going to help them heal, one of the easiest places to start is to go on a low FODMAP diet. And what a low FODMAP diet is, FODMAPs stand for fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. And what FODMAPs are they're short chain carbohydrates that are not easily digested by the body. And when we consume foods that are high in FODMAPs, it typically has an osmotic effect. It pulls water into the intestines. The bacteria in our gut then ferment these high FODMAP foods, these short chain carbohydrates, and it starts to produce gases, and it can lead to an overgrowth of bad bacteria and some of those symptoms that we experience. So the first step that I always recommend is starting with a low FODMAP diet. And as a part of that, you're going to want, you can go online if you're curious about specific lists of like high FODMAP foods and low FODMAP foods. You can go online, you can look this up, and there's plenty of resources that will be able to help you with that. You want to also focus on taking in large amounts of vegetables, particularly cooked vegetables. Now, I know you've probably heard that cooking your vegetables destroys the nutrients and enzymes and so on and so forth. Well, this is true in some cases, especially if you're using microwaves. I never recommend using microwaves for the reason that it does kill a lot of the beneficial enzymes in our food. However, when you are cooking vegetables, it has a few benefits. While it does reduce the nutrient content somewhat, it also makes the nutrients that remain in your vegetables more bioavailable. It also makes those vegetables much easier to absorb. So if you were to take something, say raw broccoli versus cooked broccoli, what I would recommend doing is you cook your broccoli or steam it on a low heat. You can even add some healthy fats like extra virgin olive oil if you're cooking it at a very low temperature. You don't want to cook with extra virgin olive oil if you're using high temperature, or you can even use coconut oil. And those healthy fats will also increase the bioavailability and the absorption of the nutrients in that broccoli. Whereas if you were to eat broccoli raw, as you may or may not have experienced, it can cause digestive issues, gas, bloating. Some people even see what they've eaten, whether it's salad or broccoli or vegetables, in their stools because the body just wasn't able to digest it. So if you have any of these digestive issues or gut issues going on, I highly recommend you starting with large amounts of vegetables, particularly vegetables that are cooked on a low heat with some healthy fats. You can season them up with Himalayan sea salt or any other seasonings that aren't going to interact with your gut. You want to stay away from like caking agents and additives, as those can sometimes be problematic for individuals, and start there. So go low FODMAP. Increase your consumption of vegetables, which contain fermentable fibers and prebiotics that you need to help populate the gut. And then from there, you want to eliminate toxins. So many people experience food sensitivities, where these aren't food allergies, where you're gonna get a stuffy nose or your throat's gonna swell up and your tongue's gonna get big and you're not gonna be able to breathe. Food sensitivities are different and often overlooked because they're under the radar. The most common food sensitivities are dairy and gluten. And many people who eat wheat or gluten or dairy consume these foods every day, and they don't even realize the impact and the role these foods are playing on their gut health, on their fatigue, their joint pain, their brain fog, and everything in between. So I always recommend starting with an elimination diet of at least 14, ideally 30 days, where you completely cut out all gluten and dairy. So all wheat products, any products containing gluten, and any dairy-based products. Even yogurt, which I know is purported as a health food for many people, but we'll have to save that topic for another lesson. So eliminate those foods for at least 14 to 30 days while you focus on healing your gut. Then what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get rid of the bad bacteria or yeast that may have overgrown. And there's a few different ways to do this. So here are some products that I have used myself and recommend with many one-on-one clients that can be helpful. One of the causes of overgrowth of pathogenic or bad bacteria or yeast can be low production of stomach acid. And one of the easiest ways to supplement this is with a product called betaine HCl. A good brand is now, it's pretty inexpensive. You can get it for about $8 on Amazon. And what you do is, this is the exact type of stomach acid that is naturally produced in our own stomach. And it helps to break down foods so that our bodies can easily digest, assimilate, and absorb the nutrients from our food. So what you do if you're gonna take this is, before each meal, you'd start out with your first meal and you'd take 1 capsule. And then from there, you would take another capsule with your next meal. Your third meal, you would take 3 capsules until you feel a warm sensation in your stomach. Now, I usually recommend clients stop at about 6 capsules. So if you're taking 6 capsules before a meal and you're not noticing a warm sensation in your stomach, stop and stay there. Now, if you do feel a warm sensation, let's say it's your 4th meal that you've been taking the betaine HCl, and you notice a warm sensation in your stomach. Stop with your next meal, reduce your dosage by 1 capsule, and that's your optimum dose. Now, by supplementing or augmenting your stomach acid production, it's going to help you better absorb your food, and it's going to help you maintain healthy balance of good and bad bacteria in your gut. That acid is one of the ways that our body keeps the bad bacteria in check and maintains that symbiosis in our gut. So that's one of the places that I would start. Then we're going to want to get into how to actually remove some of the other bad bacteria. And you can do this through medications, or you can do it through herbals. For most people, I recommend starting with herbals. I'm not usually a big proponent of using prescription medications, but there are some cases where prescriptions just work better, especially in people who are experiencing small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO. Now, what SIBO is typically most of our bacteria is in the large intestine. But what happens with some people is bacteria start to get into the small intestines and then they populate, and we get small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And what happens when we're experiencing small intestinal bacterial overgrowth is we find ourselves, when foods enter the small intestine, which is usually sterile, now that these bacteria are there, they ferment, they release gases, and it causes bloating, indigestion, discomfort, stomach distension, constipation, diarrhea, a number of symptoms. And one of the best ways to take care of this and get rid of small intestinal bacterial overgrowth is through natural herbal antimicrobials. So some natural antimicrobials are ginger. You can make a ginger tea by slicing up ginger, making it, putting it in a pot of water, boiling the ginger to extract the vital nutrients and beneficial components, and then drinking that like a tea every day. Garlic is another fantastic antimicrobial, as is grapeseed. There's also grapeseed extract, which is available on Amazon or iHerb and a number of other health websites that you can get, and you can add that to a glass of water every day, and that's another excellent antimicrobial. Oregano oil can also be used. Oregano oil is very, very strong, so you just want to be careful with this and don't start buying all this stuff and just throw the kitchen sink at what you've got going on. You want to be strategic. So I'm giving you a number of the tools we use. I rarely take all of this and use it with one person. We kind of want to figure out what's going on with you specifically so that we can be strategic about our approach, but hopefully there are some takeaways here that you can use. Another good product that contains a number of herbal antimicrobials is GI Synergy from Apex Energetics. And this comes in 1 packet a day. It's got 3 capsules per packet, and you take it on an empty stomach with a glass of water, and those antimicrobials are able to get into your gut and help get rid of some of the yeasts and parasites and pathogenic bacteria that you may have going on. Then one of the ways that these bacteria and yeasts and viruses are able to protect themselves from our body is through something called biofilms. And what biofilms are is they're a protective force field that these organisms surround themselves with that prevents our immune system from doing its job and getting rid of them. So one of the things that is very important and often missing from many gut protocols is a way to break down these biofilms so that our body's immune system can do its job. And an effective way to do that is with enzymes. So some enzymes that are fantastic are protein digesting or proteolytic enzymes. There are a number you can use. There's one by Clear Labs called Interphase Plus that I've used myself and with a number of one-on-one clients. There's also Double Strength Zyme Active by Natural Factors. That's ZYMACTIVE. It's by Dr. Michael Murray. And that's a pretty good comprehensive formula as well. And then there are a number of other formulas ranging from, serapeptase or nattokinase. And there's a bunch out there that you could use, but the key is to help your body do its job by breaking down those biofilms so that your immune system is able to get rid of the bad bacteria and allow the good guys to flourish so that you're happy and healthy, losing weight and feeling good. Now, once we start getting rid of the bad guys, we have to repopulate the gut, and we have to reintroduce the good bacteria, and we have to give the good bacteria the resources they need, the raw materials to grow and flourish. And some of the ways that we do that are through probiotics, which you've probably heard of. Now, one of the common misconceptions is that probiotics actually repopulate the gut. What a lot of the scientific literature is now finding is that probiotics don't repopulate the gut, but what they do is they have many beneficial immunoregulatory effects, and they help to reduce inflammation, and they provide some of the raw materials that we need in order to have a healthy gut microbiota. One of my favorite probiotics is Prescript Assist. It's a soil-based organism that comes with a number of different probiotic strains. Some other healthy bacteria that you can reintroduce are bifidobacteria or lactobacillus. Another good comprehensive probiotic that I use is VSL number 3, and that works well for some patients additionally. But really where you want to focus in order to help your bacteria repopulate in the gut is prebiotics. And prebiotics are the fruits and vegetables, particularly vegetables, because fruits can be problematic for some people that have yeast overgrowth like candida. So the vegetables that are going to be broken down in the gut and used as food by these bacteria so that they can then populate and grow. A good supplement prebiotic is Prebiogen. It contains inulin from chicory and a number of other beta-glucans like you would find in mushrooms, a number of other good prebiotics that are very effective at helping you populate the gut and reestablishing a healthy flora balance. Another good product is Saccharomyces boulardii. This is something that I use a lot with patients who are experiencing candida overgrowth. It is a fungus that actually fights fungus. So we're able to use Saccharomyces boulardii to get in there and kind of break down the candida and help our body flush out the candida overgrowth. And the Saccharomyces boulardii is very effective at embedding itself into the gut lining and helping to reestablish that balance. One of the brands that I use is Jarrow Formulas, Saccharomyces boulardii plus MOS. It comes in this blue bottle. You can find it on Amazon or iHerb and a number of those other sites. One other issue that we want to address is leaky gut. So what happens is from years of eating many of these immunogenic and allergenic foods, meaning these food sensitivities I discussed earlier, like gluten, wheat, dairy, those foods can actually, and many grains, especially grains containing gluten, they can actually poke holes in our intestinal lining, which is known as leaky gut. You've probably heard of this. What happens when we have leaky gut is not only does our body experience systemic inflammation, so we're chronically inflamed, and that can lead to obesity in and of itself, but these holes allow undigested food particles into our bloodstream, and then our body sees these food particles, it recognizes them as foreigners, and it mounts an autoimmune attack. So a lot of times when people are experiencing joint symptoms, aching knees, elbows, shoulders, back pain, what we have going on are these low-level food sensitivities and leaky gut because of an improper diet containing many allergens, and the body is actually attacking itself. It's breaking down collagen, which is what we need in our joints, and it's what protects our joints and keeps them lubricated and feeling good. And we experience some of these symptoms that seem like arthritic, or what you would experience if you had just run a marathon. One of the most effective ways at healing the gut is an amino acid called glutamine. And the way that I recommend taking glutamine is about 3,000 milligrams as a minimum dosage every morning with a big glass of water. And glutamine is able to go in, it's able to reduce inflammation of the gut, and it's able to actually reverse the leaky gut symptoms. So it's able to actually take your gut, if this were our gut lining and leaky gut were kind of like this, where you had these holes and the food was able to get through, glutamine is actually able to take the body and upregulate our body's healing response so that our gut begins to heal and those gaps begin to close, and those foods and particles that trigger an autoimmune and allergenic response in the body no longer get through, and the gut is sealed and contained the way it's supposed to be. So hopefully you found today's video helpful. If you'd like more help with your gut, there's so many different components to this. I know it's complicated. I know this video ran a little bit longer than expected. If you'd like one-on-one help, click the Apply Now button after this video and we can get on the phone and see if you're a fit for our coaching program. Or if you'd like help losing weight and you want some more information on specific supplements that I use that goes more in depth, above and beyond what we discussed today, you can go to thehealthblueprint.com and check out one of our programs. I'm Anthony DiClemente. Thank you so much for your time. I'll see you soon.
Going down the road to a brand new place, and I'll get there with a smile.